TikTok, it's time to rock. Welcome to the first ranking of the track show, ladies and gentlemen, here on the channel for 2026. It's a pleasure to be back here on the channel. And of course, we're allowed to say Happy New Year. So I'm going to wish first and foremost, Simon, the Rock Professor, Happy New Year. And Carl, who is in from the CEO's office here back on the tools with the channel. Happy New Year as well. Good to see you, gentlemen. Thank you guys as ever for spending your time here with us on the channel, especially you, Simon, waking up early from the beauty sleep. That's very important.
Very important indeed.
Put the clap dragged in.
And we have with us, yes, the OG, the originator, the Genesis man of Carl. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. No, it's thank you guys for organising this. Once again, good to see old friends and old foes, and what a time to do a record review with Aftermath. 14 songs. 14.
I know. I choose wisely there, did I?
There's a lot of songs. There's a lot of songs, yes, and obviously we're going to kick the show off quite quickly because of that. So thank you, Carl, for mentioning that. But we've got our dear brother here, John ZD351, in the chat, and I suppose we should let people know while we remember. Obviously, it's really important to do a shout out to the Backdoor Man, because he would normally be here with us, Simon. And Carl, as we've already mentioned, has kindly offered to jump in this week and look after the hot seat, but also next week because he's away on holiday, Simon.
I know, apparently he forgot that he was going to Bali. Oh, yes, Jackie booked it. So we have to... Yes, Brad. If you're watching this, right.
I feel like Ronnie Wood.
Yeah. Oh, well, in that case, you would have been in the Stones for 57 years, so 56 years. Yeah. Well done, Carl.
They brought me in for the 75 tour.
Yeah. We'll lock you in for that. But obviously, we want to wish a happy holiday to our dear brother, Brad, and his partner.
We have a lovely time
in Bali. So keep safe, and we'll be in touch with him in a couple of weeks' time. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do, because you'll get a notification when you do that, when Carl lets us know what album we're going to be reviewing next week. So we've given Carl the opportunity to pick an album, and the Rock Professor and I will eagerly look forward to seeing what that is, Simon, and spending our time going through working that out. So we look forward to that. In the meantime, before we kick the show off, you guys know that we like to do some shout outs. So obviously there's a couple of important things that we need to talk about from my perspective. And I mentioned this to a couple of the people already on social media, and Carl and Simon, that today is Mick Taylor's birthday. So happy birthday, Mick Taylor.
Okay.
Legend.
What? Carl, you've got a shout out as well, and then we'll get the Rock Professor. He's got a shout out as well. So, Carl, do you want to give us...
real quickly. Jimmy Page had a birthday, so once again, a Les Paul aficionado like our Mick Taylor. Wow, legendary guys. And on a sad note, when I was in San Francisco, I knew people that knew him. I never met the guy, never went to a concert, but a legend in the Bay Area, Bob Weir.
Weir from the Grateful Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you're a big fan, Simon, of the Grateful Dead, and
More dead than grateful.
you've probably forgotten more shows than you've seen, knowing that type of audience.
Forgotten them all.
But peace and love and flower power, and may he rest well. And he's with Bob now, and the band has just moved to another level, another elevation.
Yeah, I think pretty much all of the Grateful Dead are dead now, aren't they? I mean,
yep.
You was a bass player a couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah, Jack Custody.
Full Leash passed away.
That's it. Phil Lesh. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's about it on my end. I think we mentioned Happy New Year's to the audience and to each other. And Simon, what you got?
Just just in case you're rushing into it, the new Keith Richards signature ES335 is out for sale now, £20,000, or if you want it signed by Keith, £30,000. So the signature is 10 grand for a signature. That's good work from the Keith.
I quickly watched the snippet. The what's it called when they ate? The distressing looks really nice, and he chose the colour black because he said it's a working man's collar. It's better to do a job.
Who's that?
Keith, I think. No, I think that was Keith.
Keith.
It does look nice though. But BB King beat him to that black colour. Anyway, was BB King's a deep maroon?
Yeah, no, it was black. It was black. Yeah. Lucille was black. But I've watched all the videos that Gibson have produced and all the shorts too, and I think guys, it's an incredible deal when you consider, the price, say for example, of Greenie, the versions of Greenie. And Keith said it too, didn't he, at the beginning of one of the Gibson videos? He said, look, I know a lot of people will associate me with my Telecaster, but you guys have to understand that there's another part of me too, that's the 6-string side of me, and that's associated with Gibson. And I think he makes a truthful claim. There's no bullshit behind that.
Well, the Tele does his riffs, and that's the foundation of the song. But the Gibsons are all his blues licks. That's where his heart is. That's where my heart is blues. So,
hey Johnny.
Yeah.
Morning, Johnny. Hope you are. So been rushing off to pick. Sadly, Andrew and I are not rich enough to pick one up. Jolly, I don't think Carl is either. So
I'll see if Timmy's got some.
But if they do, if like the Greenie Les Paul, so they did the 50K one, they did a 25K one, and they did a 5K. If they do a cheaper one, I might have a look at that. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, if they're looking for an investment, they might as well wait 40 to 50 years, because Keith looks pretty good in that interview. Yeah, he actually looked pretty. He looked bright and very lucid, and he looked great.
Yeah.
He's a great, yeah. That's the only bit of Keith I could do. I can't do an imitation of Keith, but I could do the laugh.
and I also have to congratulate him too, because he loves reaching out to his fans with a Christmas message. Did it again this year? Well, last year. Yeah.
With a nice God bless you at the end.
He's hilariously like, here I am again. It's like, what are you doing, Keith? Pay attention.
So
wonderful.
So I suppose we should get on with the show, guys, because we've got 14 tracks to pick. And what's really interesting about this album, obviously the Rock Professor is going to kick it off because he picked it. But I have to tell you guys before we pass on to the Rock Professor, you guys all of you know that I am a Rolling Stones nut. You guys know that I adore the Rolling Stones. I adore Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, the music that they've left. And, you know, they've done some incredible albums over the years. And I'm not denying, Simon, that this album isn't important in their journey of their musical journey. But I just have to warn you guys that there are some great songs on this album, and there are some other interesting songs. And I have to maintain my integrity as a Rolling Stones fan. I can't call them for anything other than what I truly feel that these songs are worth. So I just, I know we like to have a little bit of fun with our rankings and stuff like that, but I just want to make it quite clear to you guys that I'm, you know, doing this from a place of love and respect and honor. And if anybody is watching on replay, again, I'm just making it clear that I am a Rolling Stones fan. Don't shoot me.
The messenger.
Well, it's an interesting question. We can answer at the end. You know, it's, as you said, it's got, what is it, 14 tracks or something, and it's 26 minutes. Would it be better if it were a, you know, 40-minute album with 10 songs aside, 5 songs aside?
It's the same argument. Same argument with the album.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, we're at the dawn of the sort of where the album is really coming into its own. You know, it's so you feel like they had all these songs, they put them all out, didn't they? You know, I bet, you know, if you've got, whereas somehow you think, you know, if you were a producer now, you know, Andrew, what's his name, the guy who produced the last 2 albums,
Lou Goldham.
No. Oh no, I was thinking about the guy who produced Hackney Diamonds, and you know,
yeah.
He'd be saying to them, 10 songs. You know, we're gonna keep some of these for B-sides and whatever, and you know, maybe some singles. But actually, you know, we're not gonna have this many because it's too many. And I think it's you know, it's quite interesting that they clearly put everything out. You know, everything they had, they put out. So we'll see. But I think it's quite an interesting question. You know, we talk about that a lot on this show, don't we? And that whether an album would be improved by being 40 minutes, right? You know, if you're in CDs, particularly 70-minute albums and stuff. Stop that now. You know, 35, 40 minutes is, you know, in my book, is a really good, you know, length of album. And you know, and as we all know, if you're cutting it to vinyl, you have sound issues. You know, if you're going over 20 minutes, really. And one of the side one, I think, is about 26 minutes. But we'll see. We'll have a look at that at the end. So, Andrew, do you want to go into where you heard the album first and how long you've known of it?
Oh, yeah. Look, I would have heard.
Starter.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Simon. I would have heard this album around the same time I listened to Beatles for Sale. So 81, 82 at my nana's place, and I remember the album cover. So if folks aren't aware of the album cover, there it is. There it was this, and I always thought that was cool, you know, because it was
great
similar
cover.
to the 4 figures of the Beatles on the Beatles for Sale album. So you know, I remember being interested in the contrasts between, you know, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and you know, the similarities with the album covers with the faces. So, and I do remember listening to it, and I do remember thinking, oh, this is interesting. Not being particularly impressed by it the first time I heard it, to the degree that I was when I listened to the Beatles for Sale album. But that was the first time when I was about 13 or 14, Simon.
Yeah. Carl, what about you? When did you first hear it?
I think a friend of mine from high school, we were listening to Through the Past Darkly which was a tribute to Brian Jones. It came out '69 with the Octagon cover. And it had Mother's phenomenal track listing, a lot of B-sides and great cuts. And Mother's Little Helper was on there. We loved that song. And so that got me into Aftermath because I was still a Stones novice. I was Get Your Ya-Ya's out, Beggars Banquet, Let It Bleed. But Aftermath came a lot later on. And my introduction to Aftermath was primarily through compilations, which was Under My Thumb was on Rolled Gold, I think, was Big Hits, High Tide, something like that. Yeah.
High Tides and Greengrass, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so I was a late bloomer when it came to Aftermath, and like everybody else, I had mixed reaction. I thought, okay, some great songs. It seems to be a little bit of filler, but once I got discerned about their songwriting abilities, and there was their first album where they wrote every song, and I could understand everything. It made sense to me. So yeah. To echo, echo you guys. I got into it a little bit later on. Didn't jump out at the start.
No, I agree.
What about you, Simon?
It's always been in the background, but I can't say I was particularly familiar with it. Going back to it now this week and listening to it. As I'm like you, Carl. I'm sort of I always say rather cheekily on this, we all know the best version of the Rolling Stones is the Mick Taylor version. It's not necessarily true, but it sort of sparks it up a bit. But I definitely came in on that Mick Taylor version of the Rolling Stones, and I know the singles, and we used to play Paint It Black in the band and things, and So I'd forgotten completely, that there's like an 11-minute track. I'd completely forgotten that. So like, wow, I forgot. But very much a kind of in the background. I've got the first one, which I really like. The first Rolling Stone, which is great as a cover song. But that middle period, between the buttons and stuff, I'm not that familiar with. To be honest, I've heard them, but not that much. So it's been great to go. Been great to go back and yes.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
And I'm deadly serious, and I'm happy to make that confession here amongst friends. And I don't think I've confessed this to Carl, so I feel like I feel like we're going to have an epiphany here. I feel like this is going to be a step forward together, guys, musically in our relationship. I have to get this off my chest. When I first listened to this album, and because it didn't grab me like the Beatles albums that I was listening to around the same time did, it affected me listening to the Rolling Stones later on. I remember I had an opportunity to listen to Beggars Banquet years earlier than I did, and I didn't want to because I wasn't particularly gripped by that middle period, Simon. So
no.
So I have to admit that here to my friends. I'm sorry that I did that.
Well, there's a lot of albums to go in and out of, isn't there? So I could see that. I'm a bit the same. That very early R&B covers version of the Stones is great.
Yes.
And as Carl said, this is their fourth album and their first where they wrote all the songs. They've written a couple of songs on the earlier albums, but this is the first one where they've written everything. And clearly, I think we can say that, some of it is more successful than others, really.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm glad, Simon. I'm glad that we are doing these deep cut albums, like we've done a couple of Clapton deep cut albums, that we haven't particularly, like there's one in every crowd. I remember we weren't particularly, all of us particularly fussed by, you know what I mean? And, so I'm glad that we are doing, I'm not saying horrible albums, please, but I think the best way I can describe it is, deep dive albums. That's probably the best way that I'm going to describe it.
I'm clear this is an album where they're developing. They're developing as songwriters. They're
100%.
developing their musical palettes, you know, and particularly Brian. I mean, I think the key driver on this album is Brian and his approach to you know, dulcimers, sitars, marimbas, harmonica,
All over it.
slide guitar, all over it, you know, and that gives harp, yeah, you know, it gives the songs, you know, a sort of, you could feel that sense of discovery in the album where, you know, they're going, oh, I've got some marimbas, oh yeah, oh look, I've got a great riff of marimbas, bingo, you know, and I think that's really important. But you can feel that, you know, that they're going places. They're, as I say, written their own songs for the first time. They've had quite a lot of single success, you know, with Painted Black and you know, Satisfaction and all those, you know, the early songs that have been big hits, you know. But interestingly, you know, this is one of the first sort of, I think, one of the first places where they definitely made a conscious effort to make an album. You know, it's not the singles and some other filler tracks, whatever. There's a lot of other, you know, 66 is kind of the you know, the apex of the single. You know, you could say the 1971 is the apex of the album. But yeah, so this is really early in putting together an album, instruments and, you know, an experimentation, lots of experimentation, and Brian being all over that, I think is, you know, you've got to think of it in those terms and in that context of what was happening in those at the same time. You know, the Beatles were doing Rubber Soul, you know, and they, you know, and so, you know, I think you're going to assess it up against Rubber Soul. I know it's not as good an album as Rubber Soul, but it has all the same kind of experimentation on it, you know. And I think Brian is, you know, he's the John Paul Jones, isn't he? You know, if you just want something played, oh, you get Brian to do it. You know, Brian picks up instruments and figures out how to do something interesting with them that fits in with what, you know, more normal songs. So you get marimbas on stuff, and it just changes it completely, doesn't it? Changes the sound of it completely. You know, brings a sense of exotic and world music and all of that stuff. So I think that, you know, that it is an important album in the Stones development, really, you know. And so, you know, shall we? So yes, their fourth album, you know, recorded in RCA Studios in Los Angeles, across December and March, December 65 and March 66. Interestingly, a bit like Led Zeppelin, between intensive touring. You know, they're touring the UK and touring America and then recording in between, kind of thing. They must have been good at writing songs in hotel rooms, and getting together and doing stuff. But so yes, so as we've got a lot of tracks, I feel like we should get on with it. Stuff will come up in the thing. So is that all right, guys?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
Kick it off.
So the first track is Mother's Little Helper, and was it Carl? You were saying you'd heard it, you know, which was a single, you know, at the time, and you know, been on lots of things. It's a kind of folk rock song with an Eastern influence, really, which is quite interesting for, you know, I suppose the Byrds were doing that sort of thing, but not many other bands were, and you know, using that electric 12-string to mimic the sound of the sitar, you know, is a really interesting thing. I know George Harrison actually played a sitar on Norwegian Wood, but and they probably heard it, hadn't they? Because Norwegian Wood was out before they recorded this, so they probably heard it. It's as the structure is verse chorus and has a kind of post chorus in it as well. As I said, instrumental like the sitar, you know, using the 12-string is like to mimic the sitar. You know, it has kind of 12-string, just a simple drum beat. It's not a complicated drum rhythm on it at all. 1, 2, 4, and you've got then that the 2-track lead vocals, which I think must have been. I don't know whether Mick sang them twice. He probably did sing them twice in 65, 66. Probably that Beatles thing about double tracking the vocals hadn't come in. He's, when you listen to it on headphones and stuff, and everything's like quite separate, you know, his Cockney accent sounds quite funny. You know, it's like he hasn't quite developed that American sort of thing yet, so it's sort of quite Cockney, which made me smile. But as a thing, it's you know, yeah, it's just a nice little, you know, got a really good, you know, tight little pop song. 2.5 minutes? Yeah, 2 minutes 40. A strong opener, I think. You know, I think it's you know, it says, you know, it's got plenty of melody, plenty of punch to it. It's got that Brian Jones kind of, you know, investigating instruments and using them differently and things like that, which point the way to the rest of the album. You know, I'm always keen on the first track being something of a pointer to what's happening on the rest of the album. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. And you next? I can't remember who's next. Is it you or
Carl?
Oh, I'm going counterclockwise. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Mother's Little Helper. Like Simon says, great track opener, great album opener. It's very different. There's a sense of urgency. The drum beat's very forward. We're seeing Mick mainly, but obviously Keith's helping with the arrangement, but very mature songwriting. The Thinning the Herd, obviously, with the Dave Clark vibes and the Jerry and the Pacemakers, is a different sort of feeling going on now, you know. The Bob Dylan sort of influence is kicking in. Simon mentioned the Brian Jones touch with that Eastern influence, very reminiscent of Jeff Beck with Heart Full of Soul and George Harrison with Norwegian Wood. And what I like about the song, and to this day, it's got a little bit of punk attitude. It's got a punk. And I forgot to mention this when Andrew and I were doing the individual shows on each individual member, but Mick Jagger is an incredible songwriter. Even though it's always Penn, Jagger, Richards, Jagger writes the lion's share of all the songs. He's just phenomenal. So Keith obviously figured out some nice chords. Brian added that nice touch, but once again, Mick Jagger, masterful songwriter. And one of the engineers' wives came in with some Valium, so that sort of answers the theme of the song. So for me, a 9, never a skip. Great song.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carl. I think it's a serious song in the sense of subject matter. So I have to agree also with your comment about the Bob Dylan influence, because, you know, they're not talking about I want to spend the night together anymore, you know, which is, you know, they were singing about that last week. This week they're singing about Valium. They're singing about, you know, chemical substances being consumed so that you could, you know, function in a world according to what that world in 1965 was telling you to do, you know. So very cutting edge for 1965, you know, from Carl, again, correctly, from Mick Jagger's point of view. A dandy out on the town, Simon, you know, he was out and about. He knew what was going on. You know, and indeed, all the Stones knew what was going on, you know. So, again, you know, no one can deny that the Rolling Stones were at a lot of times ahead of their time, but certainly in tune with what was going on around them. So, you know, hats off for that. Mick's vocals are incredible on this. I have to agree with both of you. I'm glad, you know, that Mick sings Cockney, Simon. You know, thank you for mentioning that, because we make mention of Mick loving to change his voice, especially when he's later on with those Gold Rush albums, you know, where he's putting on that American twang, Carl, you know, on some of the songs, you know, when he's in character. You know, so this is where he's starting to sort of develop, you know, the character of Mick Jagger as the singer assuming maybe a persona to a song, and I love that. And I have to agree with what they say. It's what a drag it is to get older. I agree.
Yeah.
Hands up there.
Yeah.
Look, guys, great opener. I've given it Simon and Carl 2. You guys, exactly your score as well. It's a 9 out of 10, and it's never a skip. One of their greatest songs ever. Simon.
It's up there, isn't it? Well, it's a single, wasn't it? And a hit single as well. So it's so very much that. So the second track is "Stupid Girl." Again, under 3 minutes. This time, kind of with an organ very much to the prominent, very much to the fore, and reminding me very much of the Beach Boys sound, harmony singing, and that kind of organ sound that took me back to the Beach Boys. Anyway, it's a kind of it's just a neat little pop song, really nice little call and response with the guitar playing the melody. I think that's one of the things that Keith does quite a lot on this, is play the melody, rather than out and out waily wailing solo bits. He's playing the melody and stuff and answering. Carl, I'll take you up on that point about there's an element of kind of snottiness, of sort of punky thing, drawling and I wrote drawling and sneering, for the kind of vocal, kind of technique that Jagger's, as I say, he hasn't really reached his mid-Atlantic or American persona yet. But again, little short guitar solo towards the end and another verse. As I say, the interesting bit is where the influences are coming from. For me, that organ is very Beach Boys, kind of American surf. I don't really associate with the Stones myself. See what you guys think, but 8 out of 10, never a skip.
Yeah, I think the headline of the song and the subject matter gets a bit more attention than the song itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
The British wave, obviously, a bit like the American wave, there was a lot of songs about love and holding hands and flowers and cupcakes and dates, and here we are, Mick Jagger, and they're being real. They're singing about what they were experiencing in hotel rooms and concerts, lots of stupid girls. So, and what I liked about the song is their identity was they were going to be themselves, and they wrote about it. They weren't going to conform to the record producer or the record company or what the public wanted. I feel the organ wasn't needed. The organ sort of feels out of place for me. The song's dated. Charlie Watts does a great job. It's a bit of a teeny bop sort of play on teeny boppers. And I've put in brackets here in my little notes. It's got a bit of attitude, but once again, like the first song, a bit of that punk. Iggy Pop was a big Stones fan. Look at Iggy Pop started punk in '69 with what's that song about a dog?
I Want to Be Your Dog.
That's it. Yeah, he was a huge Stones fan. So here we have this sort of pre-punk stuff going on. I'm going to give it a 6. I listened to it today for the first time in a long time. I would still listen to it again, so I won't skip it, but I'm going to give it a low score.
Yeah, I look, I can't disagree with anything that you guys have said with this song. The second wave of feminism had been out. Betty Friedan's book came out in '63, so there was that burgeoning movement of women's power. Women can do everything or anything coming through. And then you had the Stones, as Carl correctly said, singing songs about their experiences. And also, to be fair, though, they dived a little bit deeper because, there's enough of a hint there that they were being critical of the materialism, that maybe women were being held captive of, according to what other people have said, not me. I'm only reporting what other people have said. But I agree. I agree, Simon, with that analysis, because again, these guys, we got to remember that in 65, we're in the middle of what was happening, and London was the hot spot in popular culture, fashion, music. It was where it was happening. And
Swing,
65,
you
got it. You got it.
Twiggy.
You got it. Yeah, and this is a reflection in my mind of that, and that is from me, that point. Musically, though, I just want to share one thing with you guys, because I think it's an interesting song. Because while the Stones are writing songs, they're also writing music. There's the music behind the lyrics, so that is the song. Of course, Andrew, you might be saying, a song is music and words. But what struck me was, you've got the verse and you've got the chorus. And if you go and listen to the Stones before, say, this album, and there are other songs after, though, on this song that we're talking about that fall into the category that I'm going to describe, where there is a distinct, abrupt end with the verse and then to the chorus with the chord change there. But on this song here, you've got Charlie doing drum fills in between the ending, Simon, of the verse and the beginning of the chorus, filling that void musically, as opposed to just like the guitar and all the voice changing chord. So the Stones are realizing, that they've got to do something in between those changes.
Coders and bridges.
Correct. Yeah, so this is the obvious example for me that they're doing this. So that's worth a point. So great second song, indicative of its time. Carl gave it 6. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, Simon. But Simon, it's never a skip.
No, I know. Just to take up your points about, a lot of these songs, the poppy stuff, and then I think there's two-sided. It's not 1-4-5 stuff, is it? They're not. There are quite intricate chord changes and quite intricate changes that aren't anything to do with the blues. And I think that's one of those things. They're developing into other areas, and that experimentation with not 1-4-5 structure just for all the songs. Some of them do, but the next one coming up definitely doesn't have a 1-4-5 structure to it.
No.
It's completely different. No. Okay, good. So the third track is Lady Jane, which is again acoustic based, which I think is interesting. Acoustic with and Brian Jones plays a dulcimer on it. Plays the dulcimer. You can particularly hear it at the beginning as he comes in with the acoustic. Again, in the verse, the vocals and the dulcimer alternate. The sort of slightly sort of call and response. The chorus, again, as we said, has a kind of different melody to it, different structure to the verse, very much. So this is the Stones, kind of investigating that and put, I don't know who was, putting these things together and, if you like, producing them, but certainly that is, Lady Jenny's out there in terms of sort of Stone stuff. It's got Jack Nietzsche playing a harpsichord, from halfway through. He comes in halfway through. And a kind of light acoustic, and dulcimers are very much an acoustic, folk instrument in some ways, in many ways, from Appalachian. So really interesting song. I think clearly it was a hit as well. Different subject matter entirely, and you guys can talk about the subject matter. But I give it a 10 out of 10. I've always loved it as a song. I've always You know, even though it's not really like anything else the Stones did. But you know, to be able to pull that out of somewhere, it's a bit left field, you know, and make something, you know, delicate, beautiful, and kind of, you know, fantastic melody and stuff, I think is worth it. So 10 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. Carl.
Yep.
Great analogy. Yeah, Lady Jane. One word: beautiful, worldly, very Elizabethan, French, Victorian. You know, upper class. They did a great job in the studio, layering all that different, all the textures and different sounds. And Brian Jones, once again, is all over that. He makes it, I think. But it's a song I could never get sick of. It's got a very campfire, log cabin, wintry feel. It's just beautiful. Obviously, too difficult to play live. On a side note, Brian Wilson, and we know about him with the Smile album and being a heavyweight in the 60s and a great songwriter and loving the Beatles. He absolutely loved this album. So and hearing these songs, just like us hearing these songs, he would have been blown away. So hats off to the Stones, and what great teamwork from the whole band. Good to see everyone playing their part. Keith on acoustic, wonderful singing, wonderful songwriting, and a giant of a song. So Simon's influenced me. I put it down as a 9, but I'm going to give it a slight nudge and give it a 10. I feel bad. I'm a Stones nut, and it's too good. It's too good. It's too good. So yes, 10 for me, guys. And I can listen to it all day, every day. Yesterday, it's wonderful to play on guitar, and a giant of a song. Never skip.
Andrew.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Simon, for some wonderful analysis. And also, guys, if you're in the chat and you want to rank these songs, please join us. You might remember it wasn't that long ago we were talking here at the intro, you know, about confessions. So I've got another confession to make with you guys. For a long time, I hated this song. For a long time, I didn't like the song. I thought it was just pretentious bullshit. I didn't like it. I thought, what's the Rolling Stones? How can you write Satisfaction and Honky Tonk Woman and sing this shit? You know, I couldn't understand until obviously I became a Stones fan and went back and renegotiated these songs, Simon, you know, and Carl, and then understood and appreciated the song. And then taken into account Brian Jones's influence in the band and what Brian was trying to do, and realizing there's a big picture, because I've been accused by a lot of people in my life of never seeing the big picture, Simon, you know, and you know, so I'm and Carl will vouch for me. I'm always struggling to see the big picture, but I'm trying. I always try.
Connecting the dots. I call it connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots. But I see what the song represents, and there's a lot going on here. This is Mick and Keith saying, "Look, we know literature. We don't have to sing about characters, Simon, in Lord of the Rings. You know, we can actually, we're singing, we're going back, you know, in British history and real history, you know, not some fairy tale shit. You know, we're singing about real stuff here, you know. And I get that. And this is where Brian's trying to stick it to the Glimmer Twins, isn't he? By saying, well, you guys can write the song, but you guys need me to add the mayonnaise or the Thousand Island dressing or whatever, or the ketchup or the bloody mustard, whatever it is, your hot sauce, Simon, you know?
Hot sauce.
Yeah.
And you know, he does it. to the point now where I just absolutely adore this song, and I think this is a true collaboration by those three guys in particular. It's representative of that, and I think they would have had a lot of fun recording this song and producing it, and I reckon they would have been giggling in the studios on playback. So, Carl, I can't quite give it a 10 though. I'm going to give it a 9. The Rock Professor can't. I'm not easily influenced like you, Carl. I'm sorry. You know, You know, I don't follow any ringleader.
Fantastic. Well done. Yes, don't be influenced by my old nonsense.
It's never
a morning, Wayno. Thanks for staying up, mate, and making a comment. Good to see you. It's been late in sunny Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so the Boston Bruins had a loss the other day.
Ice skating. So I can't ice hockey. Can't keep up with it all. So the fourth track is Under My Thumb. For me, another classic. Drums, bass guitar, marimbas. Again, Brian Jones bringing. I think I would say the hot sauce. He's bringing the flavour. Because without playing Under My Thumb on the marimbas, you've got a completely different song. Different flavour, different. It brings that kind of almost Brazilian flavour. It brings a jazz. Marimbas are very much a jazz instrument, and not a sort of pop instrument. And to use them in, to provide the song's most prominent hook, you have to say that's good work from the Jones boy. And I agree with you, Andrew. There's a certain amount of the Glimmer Twins. They've come into their own in terms of the writing of the songs, but Brian is really come into his own in terms of the arrangements, in terms of playing unusual instruments that provide a completely different slant. The other thing I'd say on this, which is really interesting, is the fuzz bass. Bill Wyman's fuzz bass for the chorus.
Yep, it's incredible.
Noticed very prominently. I hadn't really noticed it before. Clearly, listen on headphones. Yeah, but very interesting. Which makes it for me. It's got a great melody. Again, not the 1/4/5 chords. It's definitely there's a whole lot of different stuff going on there. It's a nice instrumental breakdown, but and that kind of Keith doing that chopped electric in the choruses. It's just great. It just brings a whole lot of different vibes and feel to the track. 10 out of 10 for me. Never forget. I was one of them. To me, Under My Thumb is one of their classics and deserves a 10 out of 10. See what you boys think. Carl, over to you.
Yeah, Under My Thumb is such a great song that on the 81 tour, it started all their live shows. Such a great groove. And if you try and play it, it's relatively straightforward, but it's difficult because it's all about the groove. Keith's very much, there's a swing element to it. It's what not he's playing is the secret. And as we said before, Brian Jones is all over this, that signature intro with the marimbas or whatever they call it.
Marimbas. Yeah.
It's just every band member is doing their part, and it's just the Stones are so tight. It's such a tight song, such a tight arrangement. And this would have really annoyed Betty Friedman, Gloria Steinman, and Jermaine Greer.
A whole lot.
The second song on their album that would have got the feminists up rallying. What do you got young boys doing? Women's love. But they were under their thumb, and the Stones were just saying, "Hey, we're young, we're confident, we're just echoing what we've seen and what we're because by that time they were pretty roadworthy. The 4 American tours, and it's all about confidence. And 66 swinging London. So
toured all of Europe.
And I think besides that particular studio version, and I do like the 81 version, but it got let off the Ya-Ya's album, but on the box set, they do a great version on the 69 tour. And Bill Wyman's gorgeous bass playing.
What do they do for the marimbas? Does somebody play the marimbas on that?
No, they don't do it.
Version?
It's just the guitar.
They just don't do it. Just the guitar doing it.
Well, they just copy that sort of da 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 F sharp minor, a D and C and D, yeah, something like that. I can play it. But hey, I mean, Simon's influenced me again. He's making me feel bad. I had a 9, but I've realised how many tours they put the song on, and it's just a great rocker, great groove. I'm going to nudge it up to 10. Keith might be listening, you see, and I want one of those guitars.
I think he's going to send it. If you give it a 10, he might send you one.
well, that's right. That's what he did. He sent me that Telecaster because I did that, so why not?
What? Yeah. What do you mean he said what? Where's my share? I haven't a third of that.
It's one of the overall highlights of the album. Never a skip. Andrew, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's an incredible song. It was a song that they used to play on the radio, so it was a song I was really, really familiar with and always loved it. And Carl and I used to play it, together as well. So I get
which one have you played marimbas?
No, guitars. But we used to play it, and it was a great song to play. And as Carl said, it's got that groove going on. Charlie's influence on the song can't be underestimated. And as Carl also mentioned, I've got a note here, and he's pissed me off because he's mentioned it. I was, typical, he's jumped in. He mentioned 81 and he mentioned the 69 tour. So in 3 years' time, they were going to do a version of this song, which just absolutely blows, in my opinion, this version out of the water. This is great. This is a great song. This is a 10 out of 10. But that 69 tour, when they kick that off, and that's just got another separate groove going all together. And we haven't done that. We've done the Get Your Ya-Ya's out, but we haven't done the box set. So we need to probably put that down because there's a few other songs from that tour that we need to talk.
Charlie Watts' drum beat influenced a lot of the Black 70s funk.
100%.
Because that same drum beat Dave Grohl did on Smells Like Teen Spirit, which he's on YouTube. He says, I got all that from the Gap Band and Funkadelic. But Charlie Watts did that in 66, 69. So, yeah. No, sorry for interrupting. Yeah, but there you go.
No, you're more than welcome. 65. Yeah, he was doing it. So I think it's an incredible song. It's been a song that's always been etched in my mind. I've given this a 10 out of 10 with absolutely no influence whatsoever from the Rock Professor.
Who would be influenced by me? The baby-faced assassin.
Getting his own way. He gets the cookies in the milk.
Yeah, you lot line up behind me, otherwise there'll be trouble. I've decided that Andrew Marimbas Walton is a good name to have.
Tony's right. Blind Faith's version's incredible.
Stevie Winwood, yeah.
And
the Who did a version, I think.
Yes.
But of course, lest we forget the man who had a hit with it, Chris Farlow.
Wow.
And when he had a hit with it first, Chris Farlow, he did a couple of other songs on it.
And Jimmy Page may have played on the track because he was a studio.
Jimmy Page played on the Chris Farlow version. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
He did, yeah. It all goes back to Jimmy Page. Anyway, so
laws of separation.
Yes, that's the 6 degrees. So track 5 is "Don't You Bother Me." So this track is the first kind of blues track on the album. The first thing where they go back to what they've been doing on their previous 3 albums in many ways. The foot beats out the tempo, sort of a la John Hooker, doesn't it? In the beginning, banging on the floor, and and you've got some guitar and some slide, and then piano as well, harp. You've got classic Chicago blues to me. This says classic Chicago blues, got all the elements, as harp, Chicago piano, and some cool singing by Mick. It's only 2.5 minutes long. I think, for me, a bit of a filler, really, stuff. So it's not, but I wouldn't skip it. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, but I wouldn't skip it as a song. But I think that for me is where it is a kind of look, we've got this nice little blues, Chicago blues type number. So that's what I did. Carl.
Echo what Simon says. It's the first sort of what we're familiar with the Stones up to that point was very much their blues and R&B influence. I'm assuming that's Brian Jones on the slide guitar. That's his forte. Obviously bluesy. I think the song's dated. The Stones never did it live. It's never been heard of again. I would put it just one smidgen above a filler, even though it is a bit of a filler song. It's still worth listening to. I'm going to actually do something that I'm not proud of, but I'll put a 7. I'm going to demote it to 6. But I still wouldn't skip it. I'm a Stones fan, so. But it's not terrible, and I would like to mention this to everyone. And Keith's mentioned this a long time ago, and he said, and I might like to mention it, that the Beatles and the Stones and maybe Bob Dylan, they wrote albums, not songs. So 14 songs, and they're putting a lot of effort and emphasis. And a lot of these greedy record companies and producers were more than happy with a hit song, 3 instrumentals, and 7 fillers. So hats off to Mick, Keith, Paul, John, Bob, even Jimi Hendrix, and Jimmy Page later on. So quality. So sorry, guys, a 6, but I know where you're coming from, Andrew.
We're all on the same money here. And again, I feel like I have to defend myself, guys, here, because I'm a Chicago blues nut. How many times have you guys heard me describe myself as just a simple blues player? I'm a blues guitar player, and I play resonator slide guitar. I love it for what it is. But, when I heard this in preparation for the song, and I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, what is this track doing after listening to these other songs? And I'm this just doesn't fit, guys. It's just so Carl, it's below a filler for me because it doesn't fit. It's just it's a blues song, but I'm not listening to anything up to the song that's going to indicate that we're going to go there. And there's an argument. Well, look, their first album, they're a blues band or whatever. That they're going back to their roots. Look, I get that, but in the continuity of what we've listened to, Simon, it just makes no sense to me. So I agree with you, Carl. I've never recorded it. It's it's never been repackaged as far as I know. They haven't played it live. I've given this a 5 out of 10. I'll play it. I'll play it, but it just doesn't fit in the context, Carl, of this album. So it's below a filler.
Well, it comes back to my original question. Actually, would this album be improved if you took off?
You got it.
As you say, it's whistling back to their past and stuff. And I understand why you want to do that. We've got this but as I said, they seem to have thrown everything on this album. And I think a bit of judicious editing actually would have benefited this, fewer tracks, a bit more tightly focused. If you're going to do this broadening out of your musical palette and, all sorts of different things, then, Yeah.
Worst case scenario, put it on side 2.
Yeah, the second the second to last track on side 2. To
Down the
prove my
bottom.
theory. That's
Down the
cheating.
bottom.
But, yeah. But so anyway, so track 6. As I say, you know, I hadn't remembered this at all. But this is Going Home. 11 minutes 18 seconds of it's the and I read it's the first extended rock improvisation released by a major recording act. I don't know if that's true or not. It feels like it, but why not? To me, it starts off with that nice tremolo country guitar. Keith's doing that, and second guitar plays licks with the singing. To me, what I wrote down was this is a 3-minute song with an 8-minute coda.
Yeah, no.
So basically, it's got a verse, chorus, you know, solo up to about, let's say, 3 minutes, 3 and a bit minutes. And
Can we
then,
blame the drugs? Are we allowed to blame the drugs on 65?
reefer? I
Okay.
don't know. Maybe a bit. It's but well, again, it's at least this is a bit more in the spirit of the experimentation of you know, of what they're trying to do on this album. But as I say, for me, it's like a 3-minute song with an 8-minute coda, where they go into this sort of jam thing. The thing that struck me most about it, you know, is that there's not really any soloing in it. So it's not, you know, great long guitar solos. It's very much a kind of rhythm based, you know, a bit like an extended version of Gloria.
It's not the samba from Can't You Hear Me Knocking, is it?
No, it isn't. No, it absolutely isn't that. You know, as I say, it's very rhythmic and it has statues of, I think, Gloria. The thing that, and it's the other way around this, but the thing that struck me the most about it was how much the Doors version of Gloria was influenced by this.
I never
I could
thought of
hear
that.
Jim Morrison. I could hear Jim Morrison. Once you hear it, you go, stone me. It's Jim Morrison doing an extended version of Gloria, the Doors. That's what it is. You know, the Doors got the whole bloody thing for because the Stones are before the Doors. So it's you think, oh right, that's where they get it from. Yes, and when you hear that, you go back and listen to it again. You go, stone me, it's the Doors live. Absolutely is. But you know, it's pretty hypnotic. You know, it has that hypnotic kind of groove to it. I mean, Carl's talked about groove a lot. It has a hypnotic groove. There's a lot of what's Mick references in the Midnight Hour and various other things. You know, as he's going through Gloria. You know, it's as I say, it kind of took me by surprise because I hadn't remembered at all that there was this 11-minute song. You know, in the middle of what I would call the Stones pop era, you know, where everything's 3 minutes long and, you know, and it is a single and stuff. So it's it's hard to know what to make of it, to be honest. And in terms of scoring, I mean, I've sort of oscillated by going, yeah, boys, you know, what you need is a lot of editing to actually really enjoying it. You know, you get in the right sort of mood and you've got the groove and it goes along and you go, well, that's all right. So I don't know. On a particular day, it could be I can't be asked for this. It's it's a 4 out of 10, and I'm running off into the distance. On another day, actually, I was listening to it 2 nights ago, and maybe it was at night and stuff. And it got into the groove, and I was really enjoying it. So I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 on a good day. But I don't really know which way to go, to be honest. It could be either. But as I say, I might skip it from time to time if I wasn't in the mood for it. But for the most part, I try not to skip things. I would listen through. So there you are. I'm hedging because that's the way I feel about it. I'm not sure how. I didn't have a concrete thing with it. I oscillated between I just go, I know what this is doing, to oh yeah, I like this. I like the Doors groove to it. So there we are. Could be a 4, could be an 8, and all points in between. Carl, get me out of this.
I've got what the doctor's ordered. Hey, listen, it's more groundbreaking for breaking records, this song. It went over the 10-minute barrier, I think. So, and Simon's right. When I used to collect records, a guy at Antone's in Texas told me that when they used to have those cheap compilations with 10 songs per side, it actually takes all the bass out of the song because there's too many songs crammed on one side of the album. Hey, the song starts out great. Great groove, great guitar tone. It's very long. I don't think I've ever listened to the whole song. I may have listened to the first 2 or 3 minutes. Then Ray put the needle up, put the arm up off the turntable.
Right.
It's got a Chicago blues sort of call and response. There's definitely some sort of, like you said, some R&B blues, Wilson Pickett influence going on, a mixed singing well. Why it's 11 or 12 minutes long, I'll never know. I'm never going to listen to the whole thing. It's never been played live. So I've dropped my 7 down to a 6, and I'm going to give it a half skip because I can play it for 3 minutes, but I don't want to play the rest. So how does that work? Can we do a half skip?
Yeah, do anything you like. Yeah. So in a sense, you're in the same boat as me, Carl. It's like it's a 3-minute song with this 8-minute coda, which you've never really listened to a bit of it, but not that much of it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised he wasn't snoring at the 10-minute mark. You know, a couple of band members have fallen asleep. So, but hey, it's a bit of humour on an album. It's never been done before, and they'll probably never do it again. But the Stones are great at trying something once. You know, something different once. Yeah. But I'll never listen to the whole song ever. I don't have the patience for that. No matter what.
Come on, Mr. Walton, pull us back into line. There's the behave.
Yeah, well, once again, we're on the money. It's a low point on the album for me. Listen to it once. That's all you ever need to do. And it's always a skip from me. It meanders along. It goes nowhere. I listened to it 3 times, Simon, in preparation for the show. Okay, it's got a half a point because Carl said it's a record breaker and the Stones like to break records. Okay, I'll give them that. But jeepers, the album didn't need it. It just did not need this song. It's a low point. So 4.5 out of 10, and it's always a skip.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, as I say, I wouldn't always skip it, but it's because I don't mind. I can, if I'm in the right mood, I can get along with it. It's not quite in the same. It's not quite in the same realm as drum solos. But, drum solos get a 10 out of 10 and always a skip from me. It's not quite in those realms, but yeah. I mean, I admire their experimentation, and but Andrew, I'll take my own point really, and yours, that if you made it a 3-minute song, then actually this becomes a 18-minute side, much more manageable, really. And as I say for me, you've got the first 3 minutes, whatever it is, of which are the song.
And like you mentioned, Simon, it wasn't uncommon a year later in '67 with the Doors and various bands, Jefferson Starship,
Field Blues Band,
doing the lead and doing 10-minute, 8-minute, 6-minute songs. So it was the start of something new.
Yeah. Yes, for which they should have a finger whacked at them. Stop! Look what Pandora's box you opened, boys. Stop that now. So anyway, that's the end of side 1. So, boss man,
cool.
If we got a bit of a looking at jolly old.
There's the album cover that I mentioned before earlier. That It's a darn good album cover. I think it's really, really cool. It's this type of format has influenced a lot of bands. The Beatles did it with the Beatles. You know, the four Beatles on Beatles for Sale. You know, the Rolling Stones did it on their first album too, Simon and Carl, didn't they? You know, with that group silhouette shot.
David Bailey.
Yes.
Yeah, I love all that avant-garde, beautiful photography. It's timeless. 66 is a brilliant year for film as well. It's the last year of decency and clothes before everything got whacked out with drugs.
I'm just going to correct you guys there. The cover of the UK edition is Guy Webster, not David. David Bailey did the US edition of the album.
Okay. Thank you.
There are. I've been
Brian
reading
Jones
up.
with Brian Jones with his sitar, highly influential.
Beautiful.
Did it before George Harrison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Norwegian wood was set. Yeah. I had all those pictures saved, but as you know, it started flickering. So we're on the same page, Andrew. I had all those same pictures saved.
There's the Dandies.
Is that Keith playing his 335? Is that 335?
Keith Richards went through a phase already. We used to put black electrical tape around his pants. Bizarre.
Yes.
So he has, yeah.
His S&M stage. That was him beginning his S&M stage.
Brief.
So this is again early period. Gretsch. He's not playing his Gretsch there. He's playing his Epiphone Casino again before the Beatles.
Wow. Yeah, the Who loved who idolised the Stones.
This is the Stones at a press conference in Holland.
Amazing.
Look at the bloke jamming the microphone up Brian Jones's nose. You wouldn't be doing that now, would you? The chaos, like, yeah, out of the way. Hold on, I'll just get my microphone up your nose, Brian. See what you're doing. What you saying? Teardrop guitar. Yeah.
And that's from '65.
And there was a famous photography session of Linda Eastman pre-Paul McCartney doing some photos in '66 on the what's that river in New York? Hudson, on a boat. Yeah, Hudson River on the boat.
So this is this is from a European tour, and again, you know, look at the amp that Keith Richards is playing through. So they sounded really, really good live, the Rolling Stones, and I think we've got to remember that, and we take every opportunity. The Rolling Stones versus the Beatles live. The Beatles were using Vox amps, so they were a little bit underpowered.
Yeah.
But the Rolling Stones from early on, they had power, so they were sounding really, really powerful live. So, and you know, those Fender amps were fantastic at doing that compared to the Voxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
to remember that there was a live component that sometimes we forget about.
That Tammy show pretty much, showed their power.
You got it.
Yeah. So, wow. Side two.
So anyway, side two.
What a mouthful.
That's what your first
Side one.
Smooth landing.
Side one, taking all my drink.
Do you want to go and get another one? Off you go.
No, that's
I know I finished my cup of tea as well, Carl. That's terrible. Green tea, I might point out, just to
good on you.
The hippies in the audience.
Polyphenols.
Poly somethings anyway.
Yeah.
So side two, track one, Flight 505. Again, not a particularly familiar song to me. It's got that, again, kind of going back to their sort of boogie woogie, to their Chicago blues roots. That boogie woogie piano sounds like it's playing in a big hall before the band comes in. interesting thing to me is that the fuzz is used to play. They play the satisfaction riff at the beginning, dan dan, using a fuzz guitar, and you think to yourself, oh yeah, because it sounds like a horn section.
Yeah.
And that thing about satisfaction, Keith always heard it as being played on horns, not on a guitar. And of course, the great Otis Redding did that when he's first inside. He had the horns go bam bam, and I was really interested to me that not only they played the satisfaction riff on it, but they clearly wanted to make it sound like a horn section. To me as well, it sounds like in a funny kind of way. It also the fuzz bass comes in and out as well. He plays it a bit and then doesn't play it and then plays it. I don't know. It seemed a bit random to me. I couldn't really work out why has he pressed the button there. Not really sure, but he's clearly having fun with it, which is the main thing. Again, you've got two guitars. The solo is a kind of classic. Keith does Chuck Berry sort of double stops riff thing.
Yeah,
all those double stops. Mick is as laconic as ever. You've got a nice harmony under the lead vocals and stuff, and a cool solo. I gave it 8 out of 10. I think it's a pretty sprightly opener to side 2. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Not a skip from me.
Yeah.
Carl, what do you make of it?
Okay, first song, side 2. I actually really like the song, and I think it's the first deep cut from me on the album. It's a real hidden gem. What I like about the song is the rhythm section's locked in and they're swinging. Billy Wyman and Charlie Watts, hard timing on that drumming, and it's almost like Charlie Watts about to fall off his stool and then he comes back to life again. He's just so good. The song swings, deep cut. I actually have it saved on my Spotify list somewhere. Oh,
right. Okay. Yeah, cool.
And obviously, it's a bit of a hidden gem, so only true Stones fans know about this because you never hear casual fans talk about it. They've never played it live.
No.
It's never on any comps, but I'm giving it a rock solid 9 because it just showcases to me Mick's clever sense of songwriting and his humour, and the band is just so tight. When I heard the Yardbirds, obviously got the Erics and the Jeff Becks and the Jimmy Page, but the rhythm sections were never that great. No slight on them, but the reason why Stones are so incredible is like Andrew mentioned, they're incredible live. But Charlie Watts is when Keith said that they got Charlie Watts in the band, he knew that they were going to make it because they're just serious musicians. And Billy Wyman is slept on. He's such a lazy bass player, but he's not. It's what he's not doing, which is so important.
Yeah.
So
sure.
They reckon
bit like the Beatles and Ringo Starr.
Yeah,
the Beatles became the Beatles when they had Ringo Starr.
Last week, when the song "Miss You" came about, everything fell into place when Bill Wyman came up with the bass line, and he said all the bands stole that bass line. Rod Stewart, all the disco bands after that. That's how important Bill Wyman is, and he's pissed off to this day that he never got a credit for it. But if I can say anything, Bill Wyman, great job on Flight 505 and a 9, never a skip.
Yeah, do you think I'm sexy? They ripped that bass line off.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a rip off. Look, Carl, Flight 505. I agree with you. It's a great song. I thought the fuzz was on the bass. I thought the fuzz.
I think it's a 6-string bass.
Oh, is it one of those Fender 6-string basses?
I think there's a couple of fuzzes going on. Bill Wyman's doing a fuzz and Keith Richards is doing a fuzz. There's something funny going on, but there's a lot of layering going on, and you could never play that live. That's just a rare studio cut where they just managed to. The chemistry was there for that one song.
Yeah,
they got the magic just that one time.
And this fits firmly well in the whole concept of the album, as opposed to Don't Ya, the Don't Ya song, which to me doesn't fit into this album. And I love the fuzz, because clearly, Keith Richards and the Rolling Stones put fuzz on the map, didn't they? With
Pioneers
Satisfaction.
of fuzz. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and because of that, if you're a true Stones fan, you would know that, or a deep dives, Stones fan, and we do. So, look, I love it, Carl. I still think it's a filler. You reckon it's a deep cut treasure? Look, I get where that's coming from, but it's definitely a filler for me. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. But at least it's not a skip, Simon.
Well, no, I don't think it deserves a skip. As I say, I think it is more in the spirit of the album than some
Correct.
of the other songs. And I think that's a really good point. That it's not out of place. And I agree with you. Some of the other stuff is a bit. So track 2 is a track called High and Dry. I don't have a huge amount to say about this, to be honest. Just bass. It's got like a country element to it, elements of skiffle and country in it, especially in the bass. There's some nice harp chord doing in call and response with Mick and things, and a little harp solo at 134. But for me, this is again a kind of filler song, and I'm a bit surprised that. I mean, you can see that it leads. How early they had that element of country in their playing, and clearly later on taking it fully into that country element. But so I think it's interesting from that point of view, but not much beyond that, to be honest. And I'm as I say, I think maybe a stronger producer might, again, another song you might not have put on unless you had a particular fondness for it. So 7 out of 10 from me. I wouldn't skip it. It's only 3 minutes, it's fine, but yeah, 7 out of 10 from me. Carl.
Yeah, I guess the one redeeming fact is, and you mentioned it, Simon, is it's their first sort of introduction to a bit of a country influence on the album, and they interviewed Mick Jagger a long time ago, and they questioned just the anomaly of this song on the album, and Mick's exact quote was, "Well, Keith's always had a bit of country in him." And so I think Keith loved Merle Haggard, and we know James Burton and Scotty Moore all had a bit of country rockabilly. So obviously when we hear songs like Dear Doctor on Beggar's Banquet and Torn and Frayed and Sweet Little Angel, they're light years past this, but Keith had to start somewhere. But I think obviously Keith, country influence, I think it's a throwaway song. The harp playing's nice. I don't really care for it. It's not a complete dud. The fact that they can write these songs shows you how great they are, but I would never play it ever in its entirety from start to finish. It just doesn't move me. But I'm a Stones fan, and I want that guitar from Keith. I'm going to give it a 6.
Yeah. Look, if you want to listen to the Stones do country, go and listen to Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile on Main Street, and Goat's Head Soup, and It's Only Rock and Roll. All the albums through the 70s. Some girls. Just incredible. And we've ranked that, and we've been blown away by that track. Look, the only thing that I like about this is the harp. It's a filler. Carl, you gave it 5 or 6. You gave it 6.
6 and a skip.
Yeah, I've given it 5. It's definitely an album filler. Simon,
it's bordering on the vocals being a little bit annoying too.
Correct.
Yeah,
no argument from me there. Correct.
Yeah, so I think as I said, for me the only sort of is that country element that points to what they were doing later on. And as you said, Carl, he's got to start somewhere, and it was clearly here. But it wasn't knocked out of him, which I think is good. Okay, so track 3, we go from one extreme to the other in many ways. So track 3 is Out of Time, which is another huge hit that they had in the 60s. this is the hit for Chris Farlow as well as the Stones, not the Under My Thumb. I lied about the Under My Thumb bit. But it's so he had it, and then he had a hit with it as well. Again, it's got, you know, Brian Jones at his best, got marimbas, bass, finger snaps, you know, just at the start, you know, using those as a hook. And you've got nice piano behind the chorus. And again, that sort of up-picked chopped chords that Keith does. Almost a reggae thing before it was a thing. Maracas, you know, and I think the arrangement where you've got acoustic and electric in the chorus, the verse is just the acoustic with some backing vocals. You know, clearly, you know, they've arranged this up and really hit the nail on the head. So 10 out of 10 for me, never skip. It's a great song and a great part of their canon. Carl.
Well, it's my second deep cut of the album. The fans wanted it so bad that the Stones actually, I think in 2006 or 2016, one of those years, they started to play it live. Richard Fox told us all about it, being the Stones fan that he is. Out of Time, Brian Jones is all over this. It's got that sort of R&B, 60s sort of drifters, Motown feel about it. And it's got a nice, what I like about it, it's got a British Motown feel. I can imagine your Simons and Simon's Friends and these football players. Great sing-along at a pub. It's just got that sing-along feel. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feel. It's catchy, it's easy, it's not intrusive, it flows nice, and it's Brian Jones's great marimbas, I think, and vibraphone. I almost gave it a 10. You've almost talked me into it, Simon, but it's a 9 from me, and it's a hidden gem, worthy on a compilation. Be amazing to hear live. I know that Mick Jagger and Keith had a lot of fun playing it 10 years ago. The crowd certainly loved hearing it because, you know, a nice break from the honky tonks and the jumping jack flashes and the start me ups. So it's just pivotal and perfect of that swinging 60s era. It sums it up, 66, you know, mini skirts and high fashion and Twiggy and Bridget Bardot and French avant-garde films and Carnaby Street and swinging London and Austin Powers and Mini Coopers and the Union Jack. So all that good stuff. So, yeah. It takes you back to a great place. That's what I like about that song. 9, never a skip, never ever a skip. Almost a 10, guys. Almost. I'm sorry, but almost. Maybe next time we do a review. Remind me.
So, Mr. Moulton, what say you?
Yeah, I'll admit that I only ever knew Chris Farlow's version for years because that was the song that was played on the radio. They never played the Rolling Stones' version. In fact, you know, I would have been in my teens when I heard the Rolling Stones version, and I probably thought, along with a lot of other people, that, you know, the Rolling Stones was singing someone else's song, you know, and we didn't realize, you know, actually the Stones wrote this song. So I remember thinking along those lines. So, you know, and Chris Farlow's version is incredible. And I have to agree with Tony. I think his version is better than the Stones' version because it's the one that's etched in my mind. It was the one, you know, that when we used to go to funerals or weddings or birthdays with my relatives and they'd get the guitar out and drink beer. This was a song that everybody sung. You know, it was one of those party songs. I have great memories of this song. But then you go and listen to the Stones version and hear Keith, you know, singing his version. You get an appreciation for it, you know. And then you stand back again because we're all music critics. We're all music fans. We're analyzing the song. It's a darn good song. It's, you know, it's you know, the lyrics are pretty good. It's a good song. So, Carl, you've given it 9 out of 10. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's never a skip. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. But I have to agree with Tony. Chris Farlow's version's pretty good, even though I suppose it's because Jimmy Page is playing on it too. So that's probably one of the reasons why.
No, I think that's a fair shout. Chris Farlow's version is brilliant version of it.
It's great.
Deserves to be up there. Yeah, great singer, Chris Farlow. Anyway, so good. So track 4 as I do is It's Not Easy. Now, for me, it's like something off the first 3 hours. A sort of pretty straightforward R&B sort of type song. You've got that muted guitar playing the double stop intro, and then it's just it's quite rare for this. A sort of 12-bar boogie sort of thing, a sort of 1-4-5 structured song. One of the interesting things I think is the intertwined guitars, the lead lines and the rhythms and stuff. And you can hear that very clearly on this track, more than some of the other ones. That the way that intertwining that Keith is so fond of. One plays one and you're not really sure who's doing what. Fuzz bass again. Bill's got his fuzz bass out again.
Good, good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, I'll take Carl's point. I think, in many ways, Bill Wyman is the unsung hero of the Rolling Stones.
Big time.
Charlie Watts, gets a lot of plaudits. Keith, of course, but it's this is John. Something different, but nice little sort of Chuck Berry-esque guitar solo as well. That's Keith doing that, the double stops thing, which is clearly very fond of. And kind of playing some lead lines under the singing as well. Swings along reasonably. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I wouldn't skip it. I don't think it's not one of the major songs on the album. So, fine.
I'm glad that John pictured Chris Farley for a second there. I thought he was talking about the two Ronnies, Charlie Farley. Okay.
Well, there's a reference. Yes.
The golden age of British comedy. By God, they were good, weren't they? The two Ronnies. By God.
Yeah. We had nobody like them now. That's for sure.
No. Oh shit! No, they'll be locked up now. They'll be cancelled.
No, they would. They still get shown all the time on BBC. That you'll
really?
be pleased to know. You'll be pleased to know not cancelled.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for. Woo.
Whoa. So they're not Benny Hill.
British comedy is the best in the world. It's not easy. I think Simon's been reading my notes because my exact words were straightforward, meaning straightforward rocker. Meat and potatoes for the Stones. Keith can do this like farts in the wind. He can just push them out. Just meat and potatoes blues rocker. Charlie Watts is doing an incredible job. It's not on compilations. They don't play it live, and it's probably forgotten about. But I would never skip it. It's exactly what it needs to be. It's between 2 and 3 minutes. It's got some great little guitar fills. Mick Jagger's confident. The band swing, and I'm echoing Simon here. I've given it just a very strong 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't skip it either. It's good song. I already probably given away my comment when I agreed with Simon about the fuzz with Bill Wyman. I'm sure he probably wanted to break out a little bit there. I'm sure. I get the feeling when I listen to this album, there's, Carl, you described him, as just, not playing, but just playing. He's locked in, he's on the beat. and then he just does some of those passing notes. And then later on, you know, obviously he develops as a bass player, and you can hear him break out with those passing notes on Exile on Main Street. You know, it's just an incredible performance. But, you know, we're all Bill Wyman fans, aren't we? And I just have to acknowledge his contribution to this, Simon. Thank you for doing it too. You know, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. It's a forward rocker. You've nailed it, Carl. You know, I've got it here as an A+ filler. So, you know, that's in your category, bracketed as a rocker, solid rocker. Simon.
Yeah.
And like Simon said, straightforward, just no mucking around. It sounds great in a pub or a small club. So yeah, Stones doing what they're good at. And just to echo what you guys mentioned before, if it wasn't for Brian Jones, this whole album would sound like this, because that's what they do. They're a garage band that are really good. But Brian added all that colour, flavour, textures, layering. He took them out of London into Morocco, into India, into Tangier, into Brazil. Richard Farina.
He took them to Brazil before they went to Brazil to record and write Brown Sugar. They'd already been there.
Wow. And Brian, obviously, as we know, 3 or 4 months before he died, went to Sri Lanka and stuff. So, yeah. So, but I'm glad the Stones put this on this album, because that's what we know the Stones as, is that raw, rough sound. That's them being them. That's what they're good at.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know. So, okay, so track 5 is a song called I'm Waiting. Again, 3 minutes. Much more of a folky feel on this. Acoustic guitars out. Acoustic guitars play. You've got vocals, bass, and a kind of bass drum that sort of they play on their own kind of thing. Some maracas too. The first minute is just, as I say, the 2 acoustics. Not very much. Charlie comes in and sort of 108 and proper drum kit, you know, as opposed to just the bass drum. So as if the band had come in. I think it's got a really great melody, this song. I think it alternates between having drums and no drums. You know, drums in the chorus and not in the verses, which are just acoustic bass and maracas and things. Again, just that use of maracas to bring a bit more exotic, a bit of a different piece of colour to the things, and that contrast between the verse and the chorus. I gave this a 7.5 out of 10, but never a skip. I think it's an interesting, deep cut, and you know, as I say, the folky acoustic bit is nice, good melody. Carl.
Yeah, I wrote out all the songs with a few little notes, and I actually left it off. And then I realised when I was just doing my last little bits of notes that I need to put it back on. So I had it's like, and then it jumped straight to Take It or Leave It, and I thought something's missing. But I did write I Am Waiting here, and I did a good bit of homework before the show started. And hey, lovely song, acoustic guitar. I call it a serious song. They actually mean what they're singing about and mean what they're writing about. And Brian Jones, once again, is all over it with his beautiful touches. And what was that, a dulcimer or a vibraphone or some exotic instrument there?
Could be, I don't know.
Yeah. Once again, sort of a late night log fire, campfire, romantic song, hot date, marshmallows, dessert, rain coming down, hitting the window, rugs.
Look at him, Mr. Painting with words. Come on.
And then finally getting some pudding.
I am waiting.
What's the point going all that effort if you're not going to get it? If you're not going to get some pudding?
I've given it an 8, surprisingly. In an album that got quite a lot of borderline fillers. This is. I'm almost going to say this is the 3rd deep cut. I haven't actually written deep cut, but I enjoyed listening to it today. A great little walk down or chop down between major and minor chords, which is very common with all songwriting. I'm learning that, Simon, I've actually been starting to play guitar more. I'm I'm seeing all the patterns between majors and minors and in the first and the sixth. You know, we talk about the blues, 1, 4, 5, but the 1 and the 6 back to the 5 and major to the minor. But without going overboard here, a great song, an 8, an absolute pleasure to listen to.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of influences coming on for me when I hear this. There's obviously from a musical perspective, the power of the acoustic instrument. You've got the folk movement from America, having a huge influence. And sorry, I've been saying 65. It's actually 66. So that 1 year makes a big difference. So my apologies. At the start I was saying 65. So that's sloppy on my behalf. So that's a big difference. And the Beatles will tell you that because they went from pot to acid, in a year. So, so anyway, getting back to that, the musical influence, that acoustic guitar, the power of the acoustic guitar coming through. Carl already said it. Keith was listening to country music for a long, long time beforehand, and also two guys. Don't forget the skiffle influence too. That band had. To some degree. While they weren't actually in skiffle bands, they actually were in full-on blues bands, but they would have been, around it and listened to Donegan and all the, all those other guys that were really important.
Yeah. Sitting on a Fence came out later on a compilation. That's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did Donovan come out with
Hurdy 65? I think Hurdy Gurdy was 65.
Yeah, 65.
Okay, so
he's in no direction.
Mellow Yellow, Superman was 66.
Okay, and he was playing a lot of acoustic guitar stuff too there. So I think there could be an influence coming from Donovan too, to a degree, maybe.
Bert Jench.
Yes.
Yanch.
Okay, yes. Sorry. Silent J, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, Silent J. Yeah.
So and again, I think the Stones are sort of soaking this up, and we know that they are influenced by other music because they soaked up the blues. So they're all clever guys. They're all listening to what's going on around them. Most certainly, they were listening to the Beatles. Most certainly, we know that for a fact. So. I've given this a 7 I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed the song too, Simon and Carl. It's great, and it's in tune with the vibe on the album, which I think is pretty good. Simon.
Can I interject something quickly?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rubber Soul came out 65 and Revolver came out 66, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It shows you how advanced the Beatles were and just miles ahead of everybody.
100%.
When I hear Rubber Soul and I hear Girl, that song Girl, which is just incredible, and My Michelle, sorry, not My Michelle by Guns N' Roses, but just Michelle.
Yeah.
My Michelle in the hotel room came a bit later. But and I actually prefer Rubber Soul to Revolver. I know you guys are big Revolver fans, but Beatles were just miles ahead. But this is a sort of song that Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys would have been listening to and really in an admiration, I think. Correct. So this is a coming of age song and album for the Rolling Stones. So yeah. Cool. That's all I got.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Track 6 is Take It or Leave It. Again, another kind of folky country feel, acoustic song. Big acoustic drum roll at the beginning, but you've got a sort of bell, organ, and bass under the double track vocals and things too. Verse again, no drums in the verse, but drums in for the chorus. So you've got two songs together with a similar structure to them. Great melody. I think again, they have a tremendous ear for the melody, the Strolling Bones, and nice harmony. I presume it's Keith with the lead vocals. that falsetto harmony as well, which is gives it a different vibe towards the end. I gave this 7.5 out of 10, but never a skip. I think the long side 2 is kind of deep cuttish, really, but good songs. You could see that they're going to lead to other things, stuff. But yeah, so 7.5 for me, never a skip. Carl.
Yeah, similar here, similar sentiment. I like the song. I don't love it. It's a great filler. It's a bit like ham and a sandwich. It fills in the sandwich. It's never been played live. It's sort of pretty much forgotten about. But the singing's great. It's very English. Just take it or leave it. It's just my life. Solid 7. Never a skip. Not mind blowing, not amazing, but Stones. It gets the job done. It started out a bit funny. It petered along, and then the engine warmed up, and we made it to the finish line.
I have to agree with you. That's exactly my sentiment too. There's periods on this album where it's just sort of like limping, meandering along. Simon. Some of the songs meander, and we've developed words because we want to be respectful for a lot of these bands, that we talk about. So we talk about filler, Carl, and then we talk about, deep cuts, or because words matter. Words do mean something.
Anthems.
So
it's like Start Me Up.
Anthems, masterpieces and stuff like that. So. I'm getting a bit exhausted now, Simon.
Well, we'll go back to my original question. Would this actually be a much better album if you made it 5 tracks aside and made it 32 minutes long?
Yeah, I'm not getting. I'm not getting. Stupid Girl or Mother's Little Help. There's nothing coming at the end of this album to sort of make me go, wow. And we've said this before. There's been a lot of albums that we've discussed and we think, wow, well, let's go back and turn it around. Turn it back and go and listen to it again. So, there's nothing happening here for me, Carl, on this track. I'm gonna, I've got just another filler track. I haven't even singled anything out on this track, guys, for me to talk about other than it's just there. So, but I'm gonna steal Carl's thunder and say, it made it across the finish line, Simon.
Yeah.
It's
a decent little song, but it doesn't have a huge amount. To make it stick out, it's not a satisfaction. It's not under my thumb, is it? Or
Well, this guy's just mentioned exactly what I was thinking. The Americans.
So let's just hold that question for our conclusion.
Oh, good question, John.
Yes, it is, because
I was just going to say that.
John's on the money there because it was something. I'm sure that the three of us. So good question, John. So we're not going to answer that yet. We'll come back to the conclusion, if that's okay.
Yeah, see. Interesting.
Simon.
Anyway, sorry. So the second to last track.
I'm exhausted, Simon. Is there more?
I know. Yeah, there's more.
Simon.
There's more.
Andrew, I've got 14 past 3 in the morning.
Oh my Lord. The state better be worth it.
Early gets the worm. He's about to get up.
Yeah. This right, I go back to bed because it's night time.
But wait, there's more.
Wait, stop.
John Coltrane, 2 songs per side.
Yeah. No, there's 8 songs aside. Right, you Rolling Stones, go home. You need homework and lines for that.
All right.
Oh,
pick on anyway.
So
Simon.
anyway, the second last song, keep at it, boys. Is Thick.
There's more.
There's always more. So this was a hit for Chris Farlow. This is another hit for Chris Farlow.
Yes.
Rather than the Stones. Again, you've got acoustic playing and a second guitar that plays the melody line. It's the second track where they've used the bass. They use a fuzz bass to be like brass.
Yes.
Again, it's taking that Satisfaction trick and not having brass, but having, and it does sound quite a lot like it, which is amazing. Again, that chopped electric guitar with the melodic, clean guitar. Pretty straightforward drumming. Nice electric solo. Some melody playing. I presume from Keith, which is pretty cool. And again, that horn riff towards the end. I give this a bit more. I give this an 8 out of 10, and never a skip. I think it's got that horn riff keeps it interesting, and the two guitars as well, the acoustic and the
100%.
melodic, very clean. So yeah, 8 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Carl.
I'll put here just sort of, it's a good filler. It's not intrusive. It's easily forgotten though. It's buried right down the bottom of side 2, so it's very much forgotten in the realm of people's short attention spans. Never played live, not on compilations. I think Charlie Watts, for me, steals the show. Great drumming, really good drumming. You can see the Stones are honing their songwriting abilities though. They're trying really hard. They do sound a little bit juvenile on this track, but it's a sign of things to come. I'm giving this a solid 6, and one day I'd listen to it, the other day I'd skip. So it's a half skip.
See, another new footnote to our scoring. You can have a half skip.
I get where you're coming from, Carl, with the lyrics, that it's a bit juvenile, but I've got a note here that the music's quite muscular, and I like that, and it's the fuzz that's kind of pushing that along. So, it's always going to be a little bit sort of, on that aggressive rubbing up sort of against, the ears. It's going to set an alarm off, Simon. It's going to cause you to give the song at least a bit of attention, and it did for me, and then it sort of meanders along to what Carl aptly described as kind of some juvenile lyrics. But I think one thing we've got to remember, that while the Rolling Stones are progressing as songwriters, and I said this early on when we started this, there's the lyrical content of them when it comes to the songwriting, but there's also the musical content as well. So they get it going with the music, but the lyrics kind of sort of drag a little bit behind. Mick sounds okay, singing. His vocals are pretty good on this track. But I think he's thinking like me too, fuck, come on, guys, let's go and have a cup of tea, eh? Let's get this over and done with.
I need a fag.
Yeah. 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 too. Never a skip though, because I think this is a flag post of where this is better than Don't Ya, which goes nowhere. This is Simon saying, in a couple of years I'm going to take you somewhere. So hang on, be patient.
Good point. Good words.
Thank you.
So anyway, good news. The last track on side 2,
Oh!
8 songs on side 2. Keith and Mick need to watch yourself.
Is it just still a fit-friendly show?
Yeah. So, which is definitely. Oh. Hooray! Yes, much cheering.
We done it, boys.
If you stop that, we'll get in under 2 hours.
We done it. We got to the last song. Well,
And
what
my
did
paint's
Sir
dry on the
Edmund
wall.
Hillary say? What did Sir Edmund Hillary say when he met the English climbers when he came down from the mountain and they said, "Did you climb it?" And he said, "We knocked the bastard off."
Great.
Look at that. He hasn't. Look at that. The boss man hasn't sworn until 1 hour and 55 minutes in. Good work. Bad language, but only right at the end. Anyway, let's do track 8. What to do? 2.5 minutes. Just a very slight pop song in my view. Nice.
Yeah.
You know, bass drums, piano, electric guitar, some multi-track vocals, a kind of melodic 145 song with some decent backing vocals. I think, you know, again, another song you could quite easily leave off probably. 6 out of 10 from me. I probably wouldn't skip it. It's not long enough to skip, but it's yeah, I think pretty. Sorry, boys. Nondescript is the word I'm using. It doesn't really have anything that stands out for it, really, as far as I
can. Sorry. Have you finished, Simon?
I have. I was going to say, over to you.
I heard a hint of like 50s American doo-wop for me. Just looked at the hint there. So there's obviously a bit of American influence going on. But interesting song to end the album. Not amazing, but not a complete dud. So I just put sort of 50s doo-wop, sort of an American influenced American audience would love this sort of song. Probably really nice to hear in a jukebox in a bar. Or a hamburger joint. Definitely not a live song, definitely not a party song. I should have really given it a 6, but I've given it a 7, and not extremely memorable, but not a complete dud either. So
which is why I wouldn't skip it. You know, it was kind of
no. Stones have closed out quite well, and hats off to them. 14 songs, all original. Bands are barely getting 1 or 2 great songs per album these days, and to do 14 is a massive accomplishment. But we're going to answer that guy's question in the audience about the American versions right after Andrew's finished, because I'd like to add my 5 cents. Yeah.
Well, when I finish ranking this track, we'll hand it back to you, and you can offer your 5 cents, Simon and I, because it's definitely a point that I was going to raise in my conclusion. But look, you know, I'm going to renegotiate the song maybe in another 5 years when I listen to this album, Simon, about what Carl said about this being a nostalgic sort of hamburger joint song. I can't remember it that much. So what does that tell you about the song? So, you know, and like I opened up this show with, we're all Stones fans here. We love the Rolling Stones. They've given us some of the greatest albums, you know, masterpieces, literally, and we don't use that word lightly, you know, where every single song on 5 albums, Simon and Carl, is a masterpiece, you know. You know, this album doesn't have it, but you know, we did it. We've done this album. It's an important album for a lot of reasons, you know, that we said at the intro that I won't repeat here. I can't see anything redeeming in this song other than it's the last song, Simon, and you know, 6 out of 10. And you know, if I was drinking, I'd want 5 pints now.
You'd be falling off the stool.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I'm pleased I picked this, and I think that it's, you know, that it is a big deal because it is a kind of where the Stones write all their originals. They're all written by the Stones, and that's
100%.
a big deal. That's a big deal in '66, and it's a big deal for them, and it's a big deal considering the first 3 albums have had a couple of, you know, the first one didn't have any, the second one didn't have any, third one I think has 2, third album has 2. So, you know, that's a big deal in their progression from being what you could call a covers band, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they're better than that, but but kind of into an original art band that's going to make artistic, and it's a kind of artistic leveling up of them as a band, and where they might take this stuff. And clearly they went on
an album of growth.
They took the album and gave the Beatles an opportunity to listen to the album before it was released. It was released before Revolver, so and apparently John Lennon liked it. So, and as much as the media said there was a confrontational aspect between the Stones and the Beatles, we know for a fact there wasn't. They were encouraging each other all the time. There was a lot of encouragement. So the fact that the Beatles could turn around and say, well, look, you guys have produced an album with your own original songs, Carl. You've crossed the threshold now. So I'm sure that, yeah. But get back to John's question, Carl. So because you're the guest, so we'll let you answer that, because I think it's a darn good question.
Yeah. For all the Stones fans out there, the lifelong fans and the casual fans, a lot of you realise, and a lot of you probably don't, is the US and the UK versions were slightly different in album covers and track listings and orders of the song. So what the American audience did, and we can hear it clearly on this particular album, so they start out the album with Paint It Black, which is just a monster rocking song.
Oh, one of the
so
best
songs. So the British population was probably 50 million. Back in 66, American population's 250 million. So there was a lot of shrewd behind-the-scenes marketing going on, especially from the American point of view. And to follow on from Aftermath, they did the same thing with Between the Buttons. The American version had Let's Spend the Night Together, and the Between the Buttons had Backstreet Girl, I think. So there was a lot of omitting going on and a lot of adding. But the American versions were slightly rockier and slightly louder. I use the term caffeinated, where the British sound is always very... Simon, you can relate to this. The British recordings and the song orders is more polite, more sitting down and listen to the whole side, cup of tea.
Yeah.
Where the Americans are so used to hot 45s and radios and so much in your face. That's what the management would have done on the American side was, hey guys, let's just rock this out. Let's hit it out of the park. I don't care if they like all the songs on the album. We're going to blow them away with the first song on side one. Paint It Black or Let's Spend the Night Together.
Yeah, I think, Carl, that the US record industry had a habit of keeping LPs shorter and spreading material across more releases. Nearly more money involved if you do more releases. Yeah, I think it's a... You see, I know that, that it hasn't got... Mother's Little Helper on it. What does John say? See, I would have kept Mother's Little Helper and Out of Time for sure.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating from the collector's point of view because you've got to buy both albums. I own both.
Yeah.
Same with Out of Our Heads.
To buy both. Yeah,
Out of Our Heads was the same. Yeah.
Whereas you probably I would probably leave off Going Home and and put those two tracks in their place if you wanted to do that. But they did
the same thing with Beatles different covers, but did they do the same thing with the songs? The songs?
Pretty different. Yeah.
Because the covers were
less different as they got as they got older, as they got more into it. I think the covers were the same.
From Revolver onwards. Yeah. From Revolver onwards, it was the same album.
Yeah. So, same with the Stones, with 67. Satanic Majesty.
Yeah, I think so. With that 3D, the 3D,
and on a small side note, Satanic Majesties would have been a mind-blowing album if they added Dandelion and We Love You and left off all that Sing This All Together crap.
Yeah, I know.
And there's actually a massive resurgence for that album right now. It's going for hundreds of dollars on eBay, Satanic Majesties. Really? It's made a big comeback, huge comeback. massive comeback.
Really?
Big time. So yeah, Philip's slightly going off topic there, but yeah, the Americans were more clever as far as radio play and 45s and capturing sort of instant gratification, but and the British were more sort of by the book, let the album be the album.
Yeah.
So
guys,
I think that's what I would do with it. But good work, guys. We got to the end.
I didn't realise it's 9:30.
Yeah.
Or 9:40.
And Simon, thank you for picking this album because, like I said at the start, guys, we're fans and, we've got to pick the interesting albums. We've got to pick the albums that have contributed to the development of the bands and the acts that we follow. And, and we call it as we see it. And we have a bit of fun, obviously. We always have a bit of fun, with the rankings. And if you disagree with anything that we've said on any of these songs, you're more than welcome to put your thoughts in the comments if you disagree, if we're completely off the mark, or if you agree with what we've said, because at the end of the day, I'm going to remind you that Simon and I and Carl are only fans. None of us pretends to be experts on music. We're just fans getting together, picking an album once a week that we talk about and rank and have a bit of fun with, and hopefully you'll enjoy that process too. So like I said to you at the beginning of the show, and if you've come in now, we're going to have Carl join us next week. Brad is away overseas, so Carl is going to pick an album, and if you hit the notification button when Carl gives me that, I'll do a show card, and you can join us next week when we go through and deep dive an album. What do you reckon, Simon?
Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe doing a triple album. I'm not sure if you guys.
What? Which one? Come on, which one?
Woodstock extended version. 3 days.
Yes, Tom.
No, what we've done though, Carl, you know this though, because you watched the show. Like Derek and the Dominoes and Live at Fillmore. We've broken those albums up to two or three shows. When we do Beatles albums, to be fair, that have got 14 songs on it, we always break that up to 2 shows because we just can't stop talking about the Beatles. So there's just no way we can rank 14 Beatles songs in 2 hours. It's just impossible. The fact that we did it with the Rolling Stones is this album's
remarkable. Well, I think that that some of the songs, you can skip over them relatively easily, can't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And Oh yeah. But again, God bless the Rolling Stones. We love the Rolling Stones, guys.
Bless your governor.
Yes. we love the Rolling Stones.
Always.
And
God bless the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. And thank you, Simon, again for picking this, because I was excited because it's it's a signpost of 1966 of everything that was happening in London, and I want to remind people about that. The center of the universe was London, 1966.
And also, I think that it's Brian Jones's legacy, part of the Rolling Stones. What he brought to this album.
Sure.
In terms of all those instruments, all that coloration, all that texture, all the palette, different. I think that's that has been really important in signposting where the Stones went next.
Yeah, put them on the world stage. But I gave this some thought. Brian was never going to make it because you can't play those songs live like in '69. No one's going to put the Delusional live. So he played his part, but unfortunately, it was just the longest, slowest, and saddest death imaginable, because he was one of those guys who could pick up anything in the corner of his studio and bring it to life, and he made it on these tracks. And he took the Stones out of the suburbs, and yeah, I mean, to this day, people are still talking about that album and his contribution and Paint It Black and the sitar and all that stuff. So any true fan has this in their collection is the Aftermath album. I'll be very surprised if they didn't.
Okay.
I'd be disappointed.
We're going to cruise because I've got a dog to walk.
Yay.
Carl's going to get back to us. It's either going to be Hot August Night by Neil Diamond or the triple album War of the Worlds. So
yes, dogs.
Spoken word and a cafe in Amsterdam.
See, Mission RD has got 66. He's nailed it. Revolver, John Mayall's Bruise Breakers. In 66 in London, you know, what a time.
Was a crazy year because late 66, Jimi Hendrix did the first album. Everyone thinks it's 67, but it was actually about October, November.
That's right.
And then Fresh Cream was late 66.
Yep.
They put a lot of they put a lot of work in those short months of just a lot of activity.
Yeah.
The Animals, all of them. The Doors' first album, I think, was late 66, almost 67.
Yeah.
So.
All right, boys. We're out of here, Simon.
Hey, Simon, how do I sound? I've got a new setup.
Sound fine. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
So we're good for next week.
Yeah, we're good for next week. Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone in the chat. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Back on the train.
The band's back. Just take it or leave it. It's my life.
Which one's
pink? Don't go anywhere, guys. I'll play the end video. Don't go anywhere. All right. Rock and roll. God bless.
Hit it.